14, and today I want to talk about um, something that people ask me about a lot, which is, should I get a dog for my dog? And so I wanted to talk about the reasons why, um, maybe some things to think about before you get a dog for your dog, and also the reasons why it might work to get a dog for your dog. So usually when people come to me and they say, my dog's having all these problems, should I get another dog? Would that help? So in that case, I usually ask people why you want the second dog and what you think that dog is going to achieve or fix in your dog. Typically, what happens is when you have a dog who's got issues and you bring in another dog, often the issues from the first dog are then transferred to the second dog. Typically, the dog coming in is not going to pick up the existing dog is not going to pick up the good behavior of the new dog because it's still the same person working with both dogs. So if you have a dog with issues that you are not addressing or not able to address or don't know how to address, and then you bring in a second dog, that dog is going to pick up those issues and then you're not going to know how to address those either. So it's best to work on the dog you have, take care of the issues you have, or at least get them to a manageable point, and then think about getting a second dog. So just know that typically another dog is not going to fix your problems for you if that's the reason you're getting the dog. Now, sometimes people have a dog that really just loves other dogs. So maybe you've got a young dog, like a puppy that's under a year old, or you've got a breed like a husky that really tends to do well with another dog. Not always, but tends to. In that case, if you feel like you have your dog at a point where you can manage their behavior well, they're not out of control, they're good with people and dogs, then that's a great time to bring in another dog. But I always say, here's the caveat with bringing in a second dog. Do it for you so that then your expectations are where they need to be, in case those two dogs don't become best friends. So then you've got a dog for you that you already had, and now you bring in another dog for you. That's going to meet all your expectations. And then if the dogs get along, great. That's even better. So usually when I get this answer, or this question, it's because people are looking to fix something in their dog that they're not fixing themselves. And the dog is not going to fix that for you. So you need to get professional help, like from a behaviorist or a trainer, somebody who can help you address the underlying issues of the problem and then treat the problem itself and show you how to manage that or work with that. So I'll give you an example from my own personal history. When we got our first dog, Maddie, she was a puppy, 8 weeks old. We raised her until she was about a year old. Then we went out to look for a second dog. And the reason I did that was because I wanted her to have good manners, good behavior, some structure. I wanted to make sure she was a solid, independent dog, not dependent or codependent on another animal, and more focused on me than anything else. So that's why I waited till she was a year. Then she became a little more mature. We brought in Sammy. When they met at the shelter, it was literally the best meeting of dogs we had ever seen. It was something just amazing, really. They immediately greeted each other with play bows. We're running around the yard together. And so we got him, we brought him home, and then come to find out, at home, things are different. No surprise there, right? And so Maddie being a female Aussie Husky mix, she had some issues with sharing things in her home. So she didn't want to share her toys, and she had a little resource guarding. And then Sammy had some food aggression we had to deal with. He had also some resource guarding. So we had a lot of issues we had to manage in the home. And they got along well together. We could leave them alone. They would play together, although Sammy's play would become very rough. And Maddie would get overwhelmed, and then we'd have to stop him and bring him inside and separate them. So it wasn't like the picture perfect relationship that we saw at the shelter when they first met. And there's no way we could have known that without, letting them have more interactions there or bringing him home for a trial or whatever. So I wasn't that concerned about it. I knew I could manage whatever happened. And my expectations were that if they didn't get along at home, I could make that work. I could at least make them tolerate each other. And I could manage them and separate them if I needed to. So my expectations were, loose, and that's what happened. They were pretty good friends. I mean, she tolerated him pretty well. And so then that's what you need to think about is, okay, I'm bringing in another dog. Why am I doing this? Am I looking to this dog to fix all my problems? Or am I looking to this dog to be a second companion for me? And if you kind of keep that mentality and that mindset, then that's going to give you more of a realistic, I don't know, it'll set you up to succeed with your dogs. So keep that in mind. A second dog isn't going to fix the problems of your first dog. So if that's why you're doing it, don't do that. But if you're doing it just to have another dog, or maybe you've got several dogs and you want to add another dog, a pack dynamic is a different thing. Generally, it's almost like you have the individual dogs, and then the pack is sort of another entity in itself. And so the new dog coming in will absorb into that pack and then kind of take on the dynamics of that pack. So hopefully it's a well-balanced pack. And I don't want to get into our dogs pack animals and all of that. I'm just saying a pack as a group of dogs and behaving as a group, that kind of thing. That's what I mean by a pack. So don't get into semantics there. I'm not going to talk about that here. There's a big debate going on. But, just think about realistically, what will your life look like if you get a second dog? So maybe you've got a dog who's leash reactive, like Sammy was. You want to get that under control before you add another dog to the mix, because then you're going to end up with 2 leash reactive dogs. Maybe you have your first dog jumps on people when they come in your house. Your second dog is going to do what he sees the other dog doing. So get that under control first, and then bring in the second dog so you can teach him the good manners that you just taught your first dog. So think about these things, and hopefully that gives you a little insight into maybe if you were thinking about getting another dog, what you can expect. And yeah, sometimes you bring in a second dog and your first dog's great, and then your second dog's great, and everything works out well. And good for you. That's amazing. And small dogs and large dogs are different. If you have a Great Dane or a Mastiff, you're going to need to keep that dog on a short leash. No pun intended, but pun intended, I guess. Because that dog out of control is going to do some real destruction and damage to your home. But a 5-pound Chihuahua is a different story. So you can give them a little more freedom to kind of just be a dog. So think about those things too. And another dog is going to stir the pot of your house. So all that kinetic energy of the new dog coming in, whatever they're bringing with them, is going to change the dynamics. And if you've got one dog and you're looking to bring in a second dog, that's very different than if you have 2 dogs and you're bringing in a third dog. A group of three is way different than a pair of dogs. So keep that in mind too. Typically, with a pair, the dogs will either be friends or they kind of ignore each other. Hopefully, they're not aggressive towards each other, but typically they can work out their relationship a little more. A group of three, there's usually two dogs that get along and one on the outside, always trying to get into the group. And I've heard that from parents say that about children too. So that's something to consider as well. A group of three is going to be a completely different dynamic. And for people with three or more dogs, you understand what I'm saying, that it's just different. So you may have to do more management. So think about if you're doing X, Y, and Z with one dog, now you're going to be doing that with two dogs. Hopefully you can do that with them at the same time, but you may not be able to. If you're going to a training class with one, you might have to take the second dog to a different training class. So now that's two classes per week. Maybe they can't walk together, so now you have to do two separate walks. So just think about those kinds of things, and hopefully that'll get you started with just your process of considering bringing in another dog. So if you have any questions, you can contact me at casperscanines@gmail.com or on my website, triciacasper.com. And I'm available for private training in home or online, whatever works for you. So hopefully that helps you, and I will see you next week. All right, bye bye.